Hi there guys, and welcome back to the Tribe Education Training Series. Now in this module, Module 2, we are going to be covering effort and intensity. So effort and intensity, two of the four levers that create overload and why they are not the same thing. The four levers that drive every single workout are effort, how close to failure, intensity, how much weight, volume, how much total work, and frequency, how often per week. These four variables govern every single decision in your program. Today we're focused on the first two, what they mean and why they are not interchangeable. Effort and intensity, believe it or not, are not the same thing. So effort is how hard a set feels, how close you took that set to failure. We measure this with reps in reserve. 2 reps in reserve means you stopped with 2 more reps left in the tank. Intensity, how much weight is on the bar, your load relative to your max, and this is measured as a percentage of your 1 rep max. It can be tracked per set, per session, or across a whole block. Now, the unique thing about Tribe and what we do in our group PT sessions is that with effort, we monitor every individual performance from our members, making sure they are pushing themselves and they have at least 2 reps in reserve. For those that are focusing more on strength-based targets, we list out their 1 rep max, their 8 rep max, 5 rep max and 3 rep max using percentages at the start of every session so they know what they're working towards. So you can lift heavy with low effort, stopping early, or lift light with maximum effort till failure, and these move independently of each other. Now, the question that most people ask is, do I need to train to failure? And the simple answer is no. No, you don't. Not every set and not every session. Pushing every set to absolute failure can actually work against you. It builds fatigue faster than it builds muscle. Now, what the research has actually found, an 8-week study compared training to total failure against stopping 1 to 2 reps short. Both groups built the same amount of muscle. Going all the way to failure created bigger drops in bar speed and more reps lost set to set, a sign of extra fatigue with no extra muscle growth. Now the sweet spot, stay within the 1 to 2 reps of failure, close enough to drive growth, controlled enough to repeat and recover from. And not every set needs the same amount of effort. To stay further from failure, early sets and exercises in a session, or your feeder sets and your light sets, technical or higher skill lifts, when you're new to an exercise or a beginner in the gym, sessions with lots of sets planned, lots of volume. Pushing closer to failure, the last set of an exercise or muscle group. Isolation moves with low injury risk like your leg extension or your hamstring curl or your cable fly. When you're well practiced at that movement and when you've got longer to recover afterwards. This is why your program have some sets that feel manageable and others that are taken right to the edge. It's deliberate, it's not random. So heavy or light, does it matter? So the research has tested everything from very light or 20% of your max to very heavy, which is 80% of your max, taken to the same level of effort. So 20% of your max. Too light on its own, needs 60 plus reps to reach real effort, and it is not practical. If you're doing those sets and you're doing, if anything, more than 30 reps and above, you will most likely get bored before you get fatigued. 40 to 80% of your max. Now this is the effective range. Build similar amounts of muscle across the whole spectrum. Now at 85% of your max, this works, but the heavier you go, the more skill and the more joint stress is involved. Now, why do we train within these rep ranges and why will you see these in your plan? So the 6 to 8 rep range, which is the more heavy rep range, the highest skill demand, most fatiguing, they're used sparingly, mainly on key lifts. The 8 to 12 rep range, which is your workhorse, this is where most of your training lives. Easiest to progress week after week. And the 12 to 20 plus rep range, these are for your light and burning sets. These are hard to hold good form once fatigue builds, but they are great for isolation work. Now, all 3 ranges will build muscle. The difference is practicality, fatigue cost, and how easy progress is to track and repeat. The takeaway from this module is that load is a tool, It is not a test of strength. Effort, or how hard you push, and intensity, and how heavy you push, both create the tension your muscles require to respond. But they're separate dials, these are not the same thing. You do not need every set to be brutal. Effort should be planned, harder on some sets, easier on others, and this is purely by design. Almost any sensible rep range builds muscle if it's taken close enough to failure. The right one for you is whichever you can load, control, and repeat. And my biggest bit of advice for any lifter out there is that before you are thinking of increasing the load and intensity and effort, make sure you dial in form and you're performing those movements correctly and safely. And that concludes module 2 of the Tribe Education Training Series. In the next module, Lewis will be covering volume, but for the time being, I will see you soon.